credit is due. In the Scroll-Saw Woodworking and Craft magazine a few months back, I saw these candlesticks, and I thought that's impossible. I mean, there's no way you can do that. But I read the article and figured out how he did it and practiced for a while and managed to come up with a couple of them. These are 3 of mine, and it's really simpler than it looks when you first look at it. The guy that designed that was Bruce Pratt. He lives in Boston, Massachusetts, and he's not like me. He's not a full-time scroller. He scrolls on the weekends. He works for a living too. I've changed a few little things here and there on some of the things I do, but basically it's the same thing he was doing. So first thing I'll do, I'm going to demonstrate cutting a candlestick, and then I'm going to demonstrate cutting the Christmas candy cane, I think they call it, the candy cane. And after I finish that, Bruce and I got together this morning and cut both items and took some pictures. So we have the pictures, and once I get through with this, of course you can stop me anytime you want to and ask questions while I'm working. But when I get through with the presentation, we're going to have a presentation on the screen up here of the things we took pictures of this morning, which will be each step that I take when I'm demonstrating it, and it'll give you another chance to come up with more questions if you have them, and we'll try to explain, what we did and why we did it. So first off, you start with, and I don't have a blank one, but you start with a piece of wood, and you'll have to make friends with a turner. For you people that are new that don't know it, we have a thing going between me and the turners. I call them wood wasters because I tell them they take a big piece of wood that big and that thick, and they keep cutting it down. And they got a pile of stuff on the floor about that big, and they come up with a little bowl about that size. So I call them wood wasters. I still treat them nice because they do stuff like this for me. But you get a piece of wood turned about 1 1/4 inches by 8 inches. The pattern, this may be a little hard to see because I like to work with red and green patterns.
Tilted this way a little bit. Yeah.
I find it easier on my eyes to cut with green lines or red lines than it does with black lines. You got a black blade and you start cutting a lot on those black lines, and the first thing you know, your eyes start crossing. But that's a pattern. And what you do is cut that pattern out all the way around, including those little round circles on the ends. And they're attached. You leave them attached. Then you wrap it around your bar, and you try to make sure that those lines come together when you match it up like that. That's folded down over the end. Now, the reason you need that end on there is because that is what you line your blade up with on your saw. I don't know what blade they've got in that saw. Let's see if I can.
That's one left over from the show.
$10. You got $10 right there.
Here again, for this project, I used a spiral blade.
What was that?
Some people know what spiral blade is.
What did you say?
I hate to admit it, but I do use a spiral blade. He uses spiral blades almost exclusively, don't you?
Except for when I do intarsia.
And it does a real good job with it. And if you learn on a spiral blade, I think it's difficult to switch over. If you learn on a straight blade, it's difficult to switch back, because with a straight blade, when you make a turn, you stop and you literally push that piece of wood against the back of the blade as you make the turn. If you got a spiral blade in there, when you push against the back, you just cut out the other side. So you have to be real careful with that.
This is the first project you ever done with a spiral blade, right, George?
I had tried it a time or two before and found out I didn't like them.
I know I've been gone too long now, George, if you're using spiral blades.
Things do change, don't they?
You need the stool, or do you want to
I will in a few minutes. Let me go ahead and get this blade in here. I just wanted to apologize first for using a spiral blade.
I was probably for her not to learn.
George, next thing you know, you're going to be using a laser engraver.
First thing you know, I'll be turning, won't I? By the way, they had a turners meeting here a couple of weeks ago, and Bruce suggested I drop by, so I did. And I walked in the door, and I think all eyes turned that way and said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I came here to try to convert you guys to something good like scrolling."
Missionary.
As always, you want your blade as tight as you can without busting loose.
George, on those dowels you're having the woodworkers or the turners turn for you, can you just buy a dowel like hardware store?
Yeah,
or
you
something?
could, if you can get an inch and a quarter dowel.
Okay.
But I've done some, well, as you can see, you can do, because that's a pretty piece of wood there. You won't get that in a dowel.
No.
This, of course, is 3 pieces of wood. You've got 2 pieces of light wood and a dark piece in between. And you can tell what it is when you turn it that way. I was looking at it one day, I turned it that way, and look, it's got a funny design on it. You don't know what you're going to come up with. I've got some at home I'm working on now. I just got somebody to turn them for me the other day, and it's 4 pieces.
Raise it up a little
Am I doing something wrong?
higher.
They're 4 3/4 half inch pieces. Anyway, 4 pieces put together, so it'll be red, white, red, white. I don't know what it's going to look like when I cut. I'm kind of anxious to cut one and see what it's going to look like. To start this, and this is where we use a lot of tape. To set this up, you've got the line. There's an A and B on the pattern. You start with your A side, and that's where you're going to start cutting. You'll cut in from the side here, but you've got to have something to hold this in place as you turn it. Otherwise, it'll go everywhere. So I've made this piece a fence. Put a piece of tape on the bottom of it. Now I'll take this and line it up straight with this thing. You could probably divide this by 3 and measure it out. But if you lay this on there and line that up with the blade, that tells you exactly how far you need to be from that blade with your fence. So the fence is going to go right there. And I'll take the paper off of that, line it up. It doesn't slide easy with the tape on it. Now that has my fence set. I can work it against that. And the thing you need to remember now, once you start cutting, is always have the part of the pattern or line facing directly up.
Raise it way up, way high.
Right there?
Yeah, yeah.
Always have your line up high. And cutting this is kind of like rubbing your head and patting your stomach at the same time and trying to switch. So you'll get used to it after a while, but you'll notice how slow I cut. The slower you cut or the smoother you can cut, the less work you have later. Because you'll have to sand all that later. And the spiral blade does leave a fairly rough surface. So I'll begin with this one by entering right where that A is. Enter into the, can you see it? And I don't have, yeah, there's a foot pedal. You have a tendency to take over and start pulling this piece away from it rather than turning it. But to make the cut and stay on that line, you gently push it forward, and at the same time you're turning it to the right. I hit the line every once in a while. Not too regular. This is the number 5 spiral blade. The article in the magazine said to use the number 3. But being a novice at using spiral blade, I wasn't getting enough opening in it, so I wanted something that got a little bit more of an opening, so I'm using a number 5. I found on the Candy King the same thing is true. And as I approach the end of the line, it's going down at an angle. Now I'll have to turn it and come off. So you don't turn it, you pull it straight off like this. You hold it good and tight, you pull it straight out. Try to get some of that sawdust out of there.
What kind of wood is it? What kind of wood is it?
I think it's Osage orange.
It looks like it from here.
I think that's going to be a pretty one. You got a packet?
Trash can over there, George.
Thank you. I'm not going to take that off yet, but I'm going to cut the other side first. So with that, then you simply turn. What am I looking at? Turn to the B, and you want to go in with the B. You put the B right on the blade like that before you start, and do the same thing. Go into it and come down from there. In the event you don't keep that right on the line, or if you turn it a little bit too much, you'll find it on some of these. This one, for example, you notice how thick.
Yeah.
I got to play to the audience here.
Yeah, okay.
You notice how thick it is on this side. It's about like it's supposed to be. On this side, I turned it a little bit too much, and of course it cut it down. It's real thin on there. So if you keep it at a distance, not too bad.
I thought you were just being creative.
I'm very creative that way.
Thought you really
The Turners call that a feature.
Yeah.
discovered